Alright, so now we get to see some of the advantages of using a CSS preprocessor like Sass. So the first thing I want to do is the variable column widths. Alright, so I want people to be able to go into the config file and specify if they want a 3-column or a 4-column layout, and basically have the CSS change according to that. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to the config.scss file we created. Alright, and I'm going to put a little comment here that says column, we'll say column, say number of columns. Alright, so I'll create a variable. We'll say columns. Actually, it's not an equal sign. You want to do a colon 4. Alright, so variables in Sass, you want to use a $sign. If you are fluent in PHP, then that shouldn't be an issue because you need the $sign in PHP as well. Okay, so columns 4, and I'm going to save this, and that's all we're going to put in the config file for the columns. The rest is going to go right in the CSS file. Alright, so let's see, where do we want to go here? Okay, so TBL block. Alright, and what we're going to do here is this width here, we're going to change depending on what the user chooses in the config file. Alright, so right above it, we're going to do an if statement. Now you need to use this @ sign. Okay, we'll say that if, and then we can use our actual variable names. If columns is equal to 4, okay, double equal sign. And then we're going to have an else if here. We'll say else if columns is equal to 3, and then we'll have a final else, which will be if there's anything else, if it's equal to anything else but 4 and 3. Alright, so if it's equal to 4, which it is now, we're going to keep it at 23%. I'm actually going to cut this out, paste it in here, and then in the else statement I'm also going to put 23%. That'll be the default. But if they go in and they change it to 3, then I want this to change. I want it to change to 30%. Alright, so let's save this and go ahead and reload, and you can see nothing's changed. But if we go into the config file and change it to 3 and save, now it's 3 columns. Obviously we have this 1 column down here because we have 4 actually in our HTML file, but you can easily change the layout. Alright, so that's one great advantage to Sass. Alright, so I'm going to set this back to 4. Okay, now we'll look at variables. So we have a primary color here. Every template or website or web page that I build and design, I like to have three main colors. I have a primary, a secondary, and a default. And this is just my preference that I'm going to explain. You may do it a different way. Basically, the primary color here is going to be this green behind the pricing. Okay, we have the same green here in the emphasis text. Alright, so that's the primary. Secondary is going to be this green of the button. Alright, default I use as the lightest color, like this light gray. Alright, so primary, secondary, default. That's just my preference. You don't have to do it that way. And then we have a background color, which is this dark background. Alright, so I'm going to create a few variables in my config file. Okay. Okay, so we'll have a primary color. Actually, let's do a background color first. Background. And then we'll have a secondary color. And let's see, now the button is going to be the secondary color, so I also want a hover color as well. So secondary, let's see, we'll say secondary color hover. All right, and then for the boxes, the heading here, this dark color, we'll make that a variable, as well as the background itself, which is white. But just in case you want to change it, so we'll call it block. Block background color. Actually, we'll do BG color to make it shorter. Block BG color and block heading color. Alright, so let's go ahead and grab these out of the main CSS file. We'll start up here with the background color, so I'm going to just grab this, copy it. That's going to be background color. And you want to close these off with semicolons. So I'm going to save that and then go back to the CSS. I'm going to close this mobile CSS. Alright, and then in place of the background color, I'm going to put the variable name, which is primary color. Alright, so if we save this, I'm sorry, background color. So if we save it, hopefully we reload and hopefully that doesn't happen. Now here's another awesome feature is you get these error messages in CSS, which is extremely helpful. So this is saying invalid CSS after secondary color. Alright, so basically we don't have any values here. I think that's what it's telling us. So let me just comment this stuff out for now. Okay, let's try that. Alright, there we go. So our background. Alright, so now if we ever wanted to change the background color, we could go to the config file and you could put whatever you want in here. Let's do white. Okay, so then it changes to white. Alright, so let's do some of the other ones here. Alright, primary color. Let's see, what's a primary color? The price background has a primary color. Okay, so it's this right here. So I'm going to copy that and then put in primary color. And also the M, where is it? I know there was something else with the primary color. Right here, the M, emphasis text, should also have primary color. Alright, and then in the config, we just want to paste that in with a semicolon. Okay, secondary color, I know the button primary right here. This is going to be the secondary color, so I can pop that in there. Okay, the hover, secondary color hover, which will be this. I mean, you don't have to store these as variables, all these colors. It just makes it easier for if someone else is using your template. Okay, block background color. So what is that? Block. TBL block. Okay, it's going to be white. Block. BG color. Alright, and then the heading, H3, the background heading, which was block heading color. Alright. So go back to config, background, block background was white, and then block heading background was 333. Alright, so save that. Let's make sure everything registers. Undefined variable primary color on line 26. 26, color, primary color. Oh, we didn't uncomment this block. There we go. Okay, so everything looks good. Oh, one thing we forgot is the little hover effect, which is really easy. We'll just go ahead and add that. So we want to go where the highlight class is, down at the bottom. Okay, so we just wanted to highlight. I'm sorry, we don't want highlight. We just want to do all the blocks should have this effect. So up here, right under the TBL block, hover. Alright, and we're just going to say border. And the border is going to actually be 4 pixels, and it's going to use the same background color. So you won't see the border, you'll just see the effect. And then solid. Okay. And there we go. So I hope you found this chapter useful, and hopefully you'll start using Sass. I know that I was stuck in my ways with my HTML, CSS workflow, and whoops, sorry about that. And once I discovered the preprocessors, Sass and Less, they're extremely helpful and they can save a ton of time. So just try and give them a chance.